in general, anything from the ocean you can eat raw. But if you're talking about Jody's brook trout, right? Or we used to do like a big pan fry of smelts. They're the little tiny fish. I remember going to a party after and I just stunk. Like they're like, what's going on here?
Your dad was like, "Oh, you're 17, 18, going out to a party. We're cooking smelts tonight."
Full fish fry. I reeked. Anyway, so when you're talking lake stuff though, then yes, you are cooking it through. And I think that's where the difficulty lies is that yes, we do want to cook it like your chicken breast, but it can get overcooked so quickly if it's opaque, right? A fish starts translucent and then goes opaque. That's why pan searing is so cool because you can literally watch that process.
Welcome to Chef Over Your Shoulder, our podcast about the connections we make through cooking. Pairing professional chefs Jody and Kirstie from the Culinary Studio with me, a burn to the bottom of the pan expert, creates the perfect recipe to demystify the kitchen and bring back the joy of cooking without the pressure. Today, we are tackling the episode that some of our listeners have specifically requested, how to cook fish. Now, before Jody and Kirstie walk me through pan-seared salmon, poached fish, and why a scorching hot pan is my new best friend, I have a brand new fail that I have been waiting to share with them. It involves maple syrup and a microwave. It's a must listen. And Jody shares with us how she's quit the kitchen. You won't want to miss that story either. We do get around to fish, and our chefs have great stories, tips, and tricks to share. From where and how to buy really good fish when you live nowhere near an ocean, pan versus oven cooking, and why tuna might be the easiest fish of all to cook. Jody and Kirstie also share memories of fishing as kids and learning to cook their first fish fry. And they introduce us to their pancake method, so you stop stressing about when to flip your fish. By the end, I was genuinely excited to pan-sear salmon at home and try their famous Newfoundland cod fish tacos that come together in under 30 minutes. If fish has always felt like a restaurant-only order for you, this episode will change that. You will walk away with simple, tested techniques, a little science, and a lot of reassurance that everyone can cook fish in their own kitchen.
I think like when you throw the word gourmet in there, like gourmet fish and seafood or how to love seafood and I don't know. No,
There we go. Welcome to the How to Love Seafood episode. But before we get to fish, of course, we have to backtrack to maybe things we've cooked or what's going on. And so I have been saving this little thing because it happened just after we last recorded, so we haven't regrouped since. But I don't know. Well, everybody remembers how cold it's been this winter, -20, like extremely cold. And school was canceled. Remember that one day it was canceled, like Sunday night, which rarely happens because it was ice and snowing and everybody shut it all.
Bus logistics. It was like moving the people logistics. That's why that happened. Yeah.
Yes. So it shut down on Sunday. And so the kids, of course, were thrilled. And then I don't know how it happened, but it evolved where Emma said, I'm gonna go make ice cream outside in the snow. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to do that. And Xavier said, I want to make the maple syrup in the snow kind of thing. We were at a market in Ottawa and they were making it and he loved it, right? It was great. So I was like, okay. And so we got a metal bowl and just stuck it on the table because this table was full of snow. Like it was like how many, like half a meter of snow or something. And she got the milk and the sugar or whatever else. And she's like, her arm's dying because she's whisking it like, right. She's just like, and we're taking turns whisking it. And it actually like got some sort of substance. It wasn't full ice cream, but it didn't taste bad. And you know what? They were outside having fun. And so I'm helping them do that. So I didn't want to burn the maple syrup by putting it on the stove because I was outside and inside and I burn things when I'm looking at the stove. So I'm trying to mitigate, right?
Smart move.
So I put the maple syrup in the Pyrex jar or the Pyrex. Yeah. And I put it in the microwave and I'm showing them and we're going to put it on social media because I can't explain what happened.
Oh, holy shit.
My God.
There's so much to unpack here.
Oh my God. Is that glass? Is that a glass?
Yeah, it's Pyrex.
Yeah, you're going to need a new one.
I already ordered new ones, yes.
Yeah.
Did you need a new microwave?
Well, it has like a slight maple smell to it still.
Forever.
Oh, That's fine. That's better than fish.
It's right. Like at least it's not so offensive. But so, I'm doing this and Stephen was, getting his coat on, and he's like, what is going on? And he's like, it's burning. So it starts smoking. You know how when you open the microwave, the smoke goes
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
No, I don't.
Well,
No.
that's what happens. Goes everywhere. And he's open the windows, making sure the fire alarm doesn't go off. Anyway, Xavier takes it because why not? Because he's a curious kid. He just takes it. He runs outside and he starts to pour it. And that's why it's like this, because it came out in a clump of burnt maple syrup, and it froze as he was pouring it because it was so cold. And now it looks like an overcooked marshmallow. You know how if you go too long on the fire and it
Yeah.
gets all gross and black? That's exactly what happened to the maple syrup. It froze mid pour, and it
It's a bit of an installation, like, it's like an art installation, yeah.
well, I had to keep it because Jackson was coming home the next week. I couldn't explain to him what I had to show him, and I just couldn't. So now I keep it and I show people, but it was a cool experiment in the sense that it froze on the way we poured it out, but the fact that it burned, I don't know. I looked it up. It said put in the microwave for 7 or 8 minutes.
I was gonna say, where did you find that recipe? That's a bad idea.
Oh, honey, no longer than 2 minutes. Anything longer than 2 minutes on the microwave, something bad is gonna happen.
And that's what happened. And so,
7 minutes.
there we go. And it's almost maple syrup season, so maybe we'll try again.
That is definitely something that we do in our house, like, because it really once you do kinda get the tips and tricks of just boiling it on the stove to the right consistency, then it can be really delicious and fun.
Then it's yummy. Because the snow was perfect, because it had snowed all day. The
Mhm.
snow hadn't been wrecked. It was high on the table, like, the dog didn't pee on, like, it was perfect, and it happened so fast. The kids got talking, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going out right now," and so, you're moving and thinking, and it wasn't planned, and so when it wasn't planned, this is what happened, but we had fun nonetheless.
It sounds amazing.
So, can you hold that up one more time and show
Yes, I
us?
can. Okay, here you go.
Like, if anyone wondered why the 3 of us work together, this is it.
This is why I know that's why I had to keep it. I'm like, "I can't wait to tell Jody and Kirstie what happened."
And yeah, like, this is the first we're hearing of this. Let's be clear,
Yeah.
listeners. This is, like, just as shocking for us as it is for you.
I kept this a secret. So, yes, we'll have it all over Instagram so everybody can see it.
I just think that recipe should be torn off the internet. Like, if you saw that online, somebody recommended that.
I know. But you have one, so we're gonna include that in the show notes. You have instructions?
Yes, we have a full blog on how to do it properly at home.
Perfect, I'm in.
Well, Chris, the reality is that's what I was about to say too. We don't talk really before the show, and that's real
don't.
conversations. We test our recipes so many times to make sure that they work. We want you to succeed in the kitchen. We don't want you to set maple syrup on fire.
No.
Thank you for sharing. Like, thank you for being
Yes.
willing to share.
That's what I'm here for. Well, on the topic of sharing, Jody, you've been sharing lately online a little bit about what's going on in your kitchen at home. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I quit. I quit cooking. I'm not sick of it. I love it. I'm like, we love cooking, but I realized that my kids couldn't cook more than toast. One of them has, a couple things on his roster, like makes a mean omelet, but only for himself. He has a few things that they make. They can all make ramen noodles and poach an egg and put that on top, so it feels like, bougie. But the reality is that when it comes to cooking for the family, none of them can do it. So I told them, I'm like, you have access to whatever you want. You tell me what you want to make. I will print out my recipe. So I'm only giving them access to our recipes to do.
Which is a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's testing, and then I see, and so they get our recipe. If they wanted, they could even do the recorded cooking class. Of course, they don't want to be face to face with mom telling them what to do in the kitchen, so they often don't do that. And it's been so great.
Really?
Would my kids say it's been so great? No, but they're gonna definitely say it's good. Right? The first one we did a curry, and it was delicious. He had made it before at school, so then he had my recipe and made mine. Second one, we had an incident with burnt croutons, right? There was tears. I was crying and laughing so hard. The cook was crying because they burnt the croutons and they're like, how am I ever going to live on my own if I can't cook? And I'm like, exactly. You need to do this.
I think that's really like a good talking point is like is the flow and I'm gonna like promo our own classes. It's not about a recipe, it's about the flow and about like achieving a meal in a reasonable amount of time. It's about that timing and that's what you're talking about. It's not just teaching recipes and that sort of thing. It's about teaching organization in the kitchen, which is the key to success for sure.
Yeah.
That's really I know. I've been loving it. I know my family's up next. I was just saying to Amy, we're my yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm having a hard time relinquishing control. And I'm not a control freak, I don't think, but then I'm like, now I'm like doubting. I'm like, shit, am I a control freak? Like Jody's like, oh.
You're not. You're so easygoing, except when it comes to food. If you don't have enough snacks, if I go to a restaurant with her, they often think we're a couple because she's just going to order for us. I'm not even going to read the menu because Kirstie's going to order. It's going to be delicious. She's going to have a couple of like the perfect ratio. I probably will throw an extra dish in there because she tries to be conservative, where I'm like, oh, throw in 6 extra empanadas just in case. And I think this is true of all chefs. We eat on, I don't know if it's emotion, but we know exactly, like we've already consumed the meal in our minds before we eat it. Even when we go to a restaurant, I'm like, oh my God, this can be so good. Then you try it and you're like, didn't hit the point, but I can make this at home the way that I envisioned. Or when if it hits the way Kirstie thinks it should, there's tears at the table, right? Like she's at the restaurant, she's crying. Waiter comes over, a server comes over. I'm like, she's fine. She just really loved the meal, right? And it can be whatever.
It could be whatever, but let's segue. For me, it's fish. Like we were at a restaurant. Colby and I were at a restaurant once, and it was a pretty fancy restaurant, and they had like a pre-fee menu, and you could either choose, blah blah blah, wagyu beef or Arctic char. And of course, I chose the Arctic char. I love fish and seafood. And the waiter actually came back and was like, "Are you sure? Like, this is a really good price for Wagyu beef." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." In my mind, I'm like, "I can get Wagyu beef whenever I want." I like, not really, but married to the butcher, but no, and then it came, and even Colby was like, "Holy crap, that is the best piece of fish I've ever." Yeah, I gave him a bite, and it was when good. Here's the whole show. When good quality fish is cooked to perfection, it can be mind blowing, and it can wipe anything else out of the water. No pun intended. Didn't even mean that.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Now, I guess the trick is how do you cook it to perfection is the question.
Well, I think we need to step back, and Jody, I'll let you start with what kind of fish are you getting?
Yes.
You had asked us even before a little bit, like, is it fresh? Is it frozen? Where you like that's your starting point.
I'm gonna even dial it back one more. We're like, why did we choose fish? Right? We were like, what should we do? I had a friend of Amy and mine from the gym. Cindy was like, I love these episodes. I love listening to you ladies. She was like, you guys should do an episode on fish. So this is for Cindy and for everyone that is afraid of cooking fish. There's a few things, and like if we lived by the ocean, it would be no, everyone would eat it, everyone would be comfortable with, everyone could do it. The problem is when we're landlocked, the first step is finding the place to buy it, right? You're not just going to buy it willy-nilly anywhere. You need to have your fishmonger, and we've got a fantastic one here. We use T&J Seafood, not sponsored at all, right? But we love them. They're great. I always say when we taught fish classes or fish and seafood, whatever we taught, we're like, you go in there and don't have your mind set on something particular, like you need, like, I don't know, halibut, absolutely, because you could go in there and they could be like, oh, we just got 1,500 pounds of queen crab. It's a killer deal. You need to eat that this weekend. It happened. Like, that's a real life story. When Brendan was working, it was just before New Year or just before the May long weekend. They got this huge shipment, and he's like, "That's what I'm eating." I'm like, "Okay, me too." Finding that fishmonger and building that relationship first is the first step to really good sourced fish.
Yeah. It starts with the freshness. When it comes to, I don't know, there's so many different popular, like there's your white fish and your pink fish. Let's talk about salmon because it's just so popular. And if we shop at T&J's, we'll actually ask them for sushi grade. And that's just a mark of freshness, right? We used to do a test when we were teaching classes in person, and we still do it online. We're like, take that piece of fish and like close your eyes and put it really close to your nose. Like you shouldn't smell anything but maybe a whisper of a faint ocean breeze. Like it's pretty neutral. And if there's anything more than that, then the quality is not phenomenal. Sushi grade doesn't mean that you're eating it raw, but it does mean that you can eat it raw. And when you cook it, it's just unbelievably delicious. So quality, kind of on that note, Jody, getting into the good quality.
And Kirstie, do you remember, what was the first fish you cooked?
Oh, I don't remember what the first like type of fish I cooked was, but I do have an aha moment about cooking pan-searing fish in a pan because that I think is the scariest.
Yes.
Right? Like people are like, it's gonna stick like the Dickens. Like, what the hell am I doing? And I remember that moment, Jody. You know this story about me where I was cooking with an old buddy of mine, Mike Manley. Remember, and he's like, you just have to get that pan scorching hot first without any oil, butter, like get it really, really hot first, and then a little bit of oil, and then I'm placing my salmon fillets in. It depends. And we do have a recipe that is really geared towards this show about this. Either flesh side down or skin side down, depends on what you're doing that, and then leaving it alone for like 3-4 minutes, letting that crust form. And then what I learned in my first job as an apprentice is finishing with butter, right? So
Oh.
your oil is going to make things nice and crispy and keep it from sticking from the pan. And then once I flip that fish over to finish it cooking for another 3 or 4 minutes, that's when I'm reducing the heat and getting a little bit of butter in there.
So I'm gonna share my first memories because my dad was my dad was a fisherman, like plumber, but he loved to fish. So when we were little kids in the summer, up where they're from, Mild Métis Water area, we would go to he would take us to a bridge and we would fish for brook trout, and we would catch them. We would take them home and fillet them up, and they were just like one or two little bites, and just dust them in flour, maybe a little bit of salt, pepper, like garlic powder, and then butter fry them. And they were oh so delicious. When we got a bit older, we were in, like he had a boat, so we went out on Lake Huron and did pickerel fishing, and it was so delicious, so good.
Jody, your brook trout story kind of reminds me of even when I remember we were camping once and Colby caught a fish or somebody caught a fish and we filleted it and we ate. And I had kids who never really like, we were camping with a bunch of families and they were trying fish for the first time. It was a great introduction.
We all love fish, and it's more of a restaurant thing because I don't have a lot of experience cooking it, so that's how we end up introducing it.
That's your homework.
Yes, I know, and I'm excited about the options, but, when you talk about walking into the grocery store and turning kids off fish, I mean, all they wanna do is save the lobsters, so now they don't wanna eat the
It's
fish.
true. It's true. It's like what is this, a pet or a zoo or
Now, when you're talking about pan-seared, you talked about the salmon, and then Jody, you talked about some fish you put in the flour in order to fry them. Is it the same principle, I guess?
This is what all you have to know. Hot, cook hot. We often will get a whole fillet of salmon, And I love it just as is. So just a little bit of salt, pepper, some olive oil to assist with some browning and some caramelization. Hot oven. I'll do it on the Traeger as well. Nice and hot, 15-20 minutes, depends on the size of the fillet. In the oven, nice hot oven. And if you've got, a white fish, or you've got, a whatever sort of fish, you could be like, I'm going to make just a sauce. Like the Spanish romesco sauce is absolutely delicious. And just pressing it on the top of the fish, baking it, you've got an instant flavor packed protein that's hands off. You don't really have to do anything else with it. Make some rice, make some new boiled potatoes, whatever you want, and absolutely delicious.
And when we talk about the fish, and is it cooked? So, because you talked about buying sushi grade salmon, which you can eat raw, and I don't know if that's the case with all the fish. Is it like chicken where you have to make sure, or else, or is it more like beef where it can be varying degrees of cooked, and that's okay too?
In general, anything from the ocean you can eat raw.
Okay.
But if you're talking about Jody's brook trout, right? Or we used to eat did you eat smelts, Jody, as a kid?
No.
We used to do like a big pan fry of smelts. They're the little tiny fish, right? We pan fried them. I remember going to a party after and I just stunk. Like they're like, what's going on here?
Your dad was like, "Oh, you're 17, 18, going out to a party. We're cooking smelts tonight."
It was smelt night. Yeah, it was like Friday, like a little fish fry, full
Amazing.
fish fry. I reeked. Anyway, so when you're talking lake stuff though, then yes, you are cooking it through, and I think that's where the difficulty lies, is that yes, we do wanna cook it like your chicken breast, but it can get overcooked so quickly. You've heard the statement before, when your fish flakes, it's done, right? So you're taking a little wee knife, putting it in between the flakes of fish. If it's flaked, if it's opaque, right? A fish starts translucent and then goes opaque. That's why pan searing is so cool, because you can literally watch that process. I think the difficulty lies in worrying about that doneness and overcooking it. So you do need to practice. As Jody said, step 1, it's hot. It's hot and fast. Step 2, I think that Jody, you talked about sauces, but it's interesting that anything coming from the water really loves salt, whether it's from the ocean or the lake. You need to season it really, really well to bring the sweetness, the natural sweetness of that fish out.
Yeah, otherwise it's too bland, right? Yeah, so the first step always to season. The other thing is, and especially with pan searing, to add the oil to the fish. And when it hits a hot pan, or when it's in the oven, in the oven it will conduct the heat, it will protect it because it's quite lean. But in the pan, it comes in direct contact with the hot heat and creates a nice crust, a nice browning. So in a pan, and with that caramelization, more intense flavors. If you're like, I need it to be a little bit more mild, choose the oven. It will just be a little less, it will be a little bit more mild, for your, you know, for you. And it's also not sputtering and spitting. And it just feels, you'll feel more in control.
Yeah, I can see that. So with the salmon, is it salt first, then put the oil on it? Is that what you would do?
Here's my science. Always salt first. Salt dissolves readily in water, the moisture on the fish. If you oil first, salt second, you can see the salt just sit on top of the fat. And then once it hits the pan or wherever it goes, that oil kind of leaves that fish, and then there's no salt or seasoning on the fish. So always salt first, oil second. Fish or steak or beef or chicken.
There's another cooking method that I want to talk about quickly, and that's poaching. We don't do it often, but Jody, you reminded me when you were talking about like mild versus like kind of intense flavors. Poached salmon is a recipe we used to make for our clients or students, in some of our cooking classes. They would be like, okay, like we're using really amazing quality salmon. We're poaching it in this very, very gentle way. And again, we can throw those tips in the show notes. But that's a really great gateway to enjoying fish and seafood, because the outcome flavor-wise is quite mild.
And serve that poached fish with the thing that you love the most, tartar sauce. That's people's introduction to fish, right? Like they eat it because it's like heavily battered, right? Yeah, it's crispy, it's delicious, it's deep fried. We love that. But if you poach salmon, like that's what we used to serve it with, Kirstie, our Monday night series. Poached salmon with some tartar sauce. It was just delicious. It's a creamy element, which I absolutely love, but it's familiar with a twist, right? Like not batter laden.
Our fish is so good, like the fish that we make because of the fish that we buy at T&J's, and don't overcook it and season it well and serve it with a great sauce. I don't know if I told you this, Jody. My brother's coming to visit in a couple weeks. This is all the text said. We look forward to your trout. I made it once, and like him and his son were so blown away by how good it was.
I'm gonna tell you was a real compliment to Kirstie, because when he used to come home, he would like can't wait to eat scallops or something along the lines, right? He loved some scallops when he was home, and now saying the trout, that is kudos to your trout. Just try it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, you burnt maple syrup in a microwave.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, when you said that your daughter was crying over the croutons, I feel badly because you can't cry when you screw it up, because you're just done. You just have to move on.
I'm just glad your whole family's still alive like that.
I know.
You're gonna have maple infused popcorn for the rest of your life.
It's not that bad. Actually, I make popcorn on the stove. I have a very old turning thing. I only make it on the stove. I never make it in the microwave. So,
Delicious.
Amy, what can we tell you to help you make successful fish at home? Or have we covered it? Is there anything that we're missing?
so I think when you talked about, you talked about the salmon and the pan searing, but really all the things we talked about, the pan searing and the poaching and the oven, that can apply to all of the fishes. Is that correct?
That's a good question, and I would say yes, in general. I think the big difference, and Jody you talked about a little bit earlier with your brook trout, that white fish in general, there's always exceptions to the rule in cooking, all right, friends? But in general, whitefish is more flakier. Like there's firm fish and there's flaky fish. So that's why we're flour dusting your cod, your little pickerels, perch, things like that. The flour also kind of helps to keep it together.
Okay.
Whereas your trout and your salmon, I love Arctic char, things like that are a bit more firm flesh. So you don't necessarily need the flour.
And where does halibut fit into that?
See, I feel like an in between, Jody.
Oh, look at me. I found it in between. Only because people kind of default to that sort of safe halibut as a starting point. So
Halibut doesn't excite me.
Me either. You know why?
Why?
Because it's so protein thick, like it's like steaky almost. That's why it's very firm. It's not going to fall apart. Where Kirstie said, like, you take a class with us, and Kirstie was like, it's fish. It's a puzzle piece. If part of it breaks off, it connects back together generally. The other thing is that, Amy, have you made pancakes before?
yes.
Okay. It doesn't matter if they're boxed, doesn't matter if they're from scratch. I do highly recommend from scratch. They're delicious, but that's another thing.
I was going to, you know what? Actually, I was going to make them during the Olympics because they were on so early and we were up on the weekends watching them. And I looked up your recipe and I just didn't have buttermilk on hand. So I didn't, but that's what I want to do. That is on my list of things to make. Yes.
Okay. So you don't need buttermilk on hand. You probably had some vanilla yogurt, let it out with some milk in the same consistency. You're good to go. I will update that recipe that it has it. Okay.
What a great tip. Yes.
Okay. But so if you've made pancakes before, you know that you have to cook those pancakes like 75% so they have a really good base on the one side before you flip them over. If you apply that same principle to fish, when we apply it to many places, we call it the pancake method, right? It's just we didn't learn it in chef school. Kirstie and I just developed this from our teaching. So you can flip it over. You can even touch the top of the fish because it won't be cold. And then you can flip it, cook it pancake method, 75 on the other, flip it over, just finish cooking. It shouldn't fall apart. If it does, it's okay. It will still be delicious, but you should be able to keep it together and more, you're not flipping.
I like that tip. That lessens the stress too, right? You keep your eye on it and flip it, and then it should be done. And so I like that as well. I do want to try the pan method. I often have thrown fish in the oven, not with any flair or probably flavor, but I'm interested in trying the pan. So if I'm going to try salmon, that I get. If there was a flakier fish, what would you recommend?
Well, before we talk about that, staying in the firm category, a
Mhm.
huge exception to all the rules is tuna fish. Right? So we've all had tuna in a can, having, fresh tuna. This is the exception to the rule because you're barely cooking it. And I think it's one of the easiest ones. You're almost always putting in there is like a very classic Italian recipe like olive oil poached tuna where it is getting cooked through, but a pan-seared tuna steak is fabulous because you're just searing it like 1 minute one side, 1 minute the other side, and it's raw in the middle, and it's absolutely I just did this the other day, Jody, but I did it in our miso marinade and then in sesame seeds, 1 minute aside, sliced it up, and it was gorgeous.
Tuna, honestly, I think about tuna and I think, "Oh, I would never be able to do that." But now that you said it's thick and you actually eat it somewhat raw, it sounds almost the most simple one to make.
It's too easy. Yeah, it's too dead easy. Like, my mom started doing because at first it was intimidating because it's like getting a beef tenderloin. Like, I've just spent $30 on this, like, piece, right? And
No.
I don't wanna fuck it up. Don't wanna say that full word if my mom's listening, Jody.
Oh, she knows. She's heard it from me before.
Yes. So, yes, it is intimidating because of that, but at the end of the day, it's really just the easiest. Yeah.
And what would you serve it with? Same thing, rice or potatoes and vegetable kind of thing, or
Whatever,
just
I did it kinda I did it with sweet potato, edamame, like, we have this whole kinda combination, a
Mm.
little spicy mayo, yeah, it was delicious.
Tuna feels like an appetizer when it's like that.
It does.
Because it is very dense again, and it's like protein packed. You're sharing that piece, right? Like you're sharing that piece of salmon with the family, and it feels like it's a lot. So, Amy, you asked about pans.
Yes.
If we go back to my shore lunch, it was cast iron.
Like your brook
My
trout lunch?
my brook trout and my pickerel, right? It was cast iron pan. And you can get that nice and hot, and then it gets that nice crust that forms on it. So that really works well. The new age pans, right, that repel oil and all of these things and they don't stick, they just can't get as hot as that you'd want them to.
Yeah, no, I love my stainless steel as well, the all-clad. Didn't you get an all-clad for Christmas?
I did, so then I'm good. I have both, so we'll see. Either one though, right?
Just preheat it. Just preheat the shit out of it.
So I have my pan, and we talked about salmon, and if I was going to do a flakier fish, which one would you recommend?
Jody, let's say it together. 1, 2, 3.
Black
Cod.
cod.
Ooh, I wasn't gonna say black cod.
Come on.
Oh, yeah, that's luxury living. I was thinking of the Newfoundland wild caught cod that you can get at T&J. That's one of my favorite fish, but I don't use it for pan searing though, Amy. That's the fish we use for our fish tacos recipe, which has taken the world by storm. Are you laughing? You don't think it's taken the world by storm, Jody?
Yeah, our world. Yes.
That's okay. It can take any world by storm. So everybody should try it. I'll add that to the recipe. I've got a lot of fish recipes to cook, but I'm pretty excited about that actually.
I think you're going to have great success with trying salmon in the pan-seared salmon, just because of the richness, the fattiness, the, you know, ability for it to stay together. Go there. Like when you're like, when you ask like, what's my white flaky fish to pan sear? I'm like, let's just get pan-seared under the belt first, right?
Let's
Like,
just practice first. Okay, salmon it is.
you don't need 10 things, you need one thing to do, you right?
That's correct. I do get a bit overwhelmed when there's more, but it all sounds so delicious. And it actually, I have to say, I am intimidated by fish, and it sounds so much easier than I thought before we started having this conversation. So that excites me as well. So I can start with salmon, and I can also try some fish tacos, and I think that would be a great place to start.
Those fish tacos literally are like on the table in less than 20 minutes with a little
Perfect.
cucumber salsa. Absolutely delicious.
Well, stay tuned, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Easy in the microwave. Don't do fish in the microwave. Don't do fish. Here's your last tip.
Okay.
Don't do fish in the microwave.
But I was going to say, like, I remember getting my first microwave early 80s. So let's go back to before microwave. Use the microwave to like reheat rice, because I find that the most effective way, right? 2 minutes, sopping paper towel. It feels like fresh steamed. Other than that, like, we're not cooking in the microwave.
No, I don't cook. I actually don't cook in the microwave either. Really.
Like you tried to make candy in a microwave, essentially, is what was happening there.
I did. So, you know.
Hey, what should I do? I'll make it in the microwave and I'll walk away for 7 minutes.
I can't wait to see what you have for us next time, Amy. Nothing. I don't know if you can top that.
Thank you for joining us in the kitchen today. If you'd like to know more about what we talked about, including recipes, recommendations, and links to Jody and Kirstie's full selection of online classes, you can find everything in the show notes or visit the Culinary Studio website. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast and take a moment to leave us a review. Chef Over Your Shoulder is a member of the Bespoke Productions Hub podcast network. Happy cooking.